What impact do you believe this deep cut in corporate taxes will have in the immediate, the medium and long term? And does this help revive the sagging animal spirits of people?
Thanks, Rahul. Today was very big. Today does classify as being big bang. For me, there are three things. I think the biggest impact is going to be actually medium term, because this will make India's companies structurally more competitive around the world. When everybody's cutting corporate tax rates, we have to keep in line. Mr. Goyal has rightly said, India can't grow at 8 or 9% for the next decade without export growth. The last time we had 9% growth in the mid-2000s, do you know what? Exports grew at 18% a year for 5 years. Private consumption grew at 7%. So we'll have to target exports. So I think in the medium term, this is a very good start. In the near term, what does this do? It reverses this gloom and doom that was self-fulfilling over the last few months. Things are bad. Hopefully, it'll arrest that sentiment. Now, also, I think, going forward, we've had a lot of consumption-led growth. Hopefully, this will spur investment-led growth, so it's more balanced. So there are multiple benefits. This is not without some costs or challenges. There is a big fiscal cost involved, 0.7% of GDP. I think it's petty to quibble about that on a day like this, but I think it'll be good for bond markets to have a plan of how to pay for this. My suggestion is, having successfully reversed sentiment in the equity market, now the government must double down and front load asset sales, disinvestment, strategic sales. Do it now. It has multiple benefits. Number one, it keeps the reform momentum going. Number two, it will take away the risk premium that bond markets have attached to this fiscal spending, right? Interest rates went up 20 basis points today. We don't want that to feed on itself and undo the RBI's rate cut. So my strong suggestion is, come up with a medium-term credible fiscal plan to get back on target, and as the first installment, double down on asset sales. You will not get a better moment. I'll say one last thing, Rahul, if you give me the moment, because exports is so important. This is the first step. Why not go the whole hog? There are hundreds of companies that want to leave China now and find other places to set up. Vietnam and Cambodia don't have the size to have the absorptive capacity. We should be going to those 100 companies to say, you know what, come to India. We'll set up, I'm oversimplifying, a Gujarat economic coastal zone. We'll acquire the land, 24-hour power, 10-year tax holiday, good infrastructure and logistics. Come to us. This is India's moment in the sun. So while the corporate tax cut is a great down payment, there are a number of natural follow-ups to this that will, in my view, seal the deal.
Nilkant Mishra at Credit Suisse, we've seen private investment at historic lows. Do you believe we'll see the private investment cycle kickstarting as a consequence of what the government has done? What time period would you allocate to fresh investment coming up?
First is, this is now 1,45,000 crores, which was going to the government, is now going to stay with the corporates. See, one of the biggest problems in India is a lack of risk capital. See, at this stage of per capita GDP, there is not enough equity capital, risk capital, which exists. So if, say, we want to do a 1,000 crore project, you need to put 300, 350 crores of equity. There are not too many groups in India which can put in that equity. Most economies that have gone through this phase, and this includes China, have done exactly what we don't want to do, which is socialize the losses and privatize the gains. So what has happened in China, for example, is that you give depositors 2% interest rate, give fat margins to the banks, and the banks keep giving loans. The loans that work, the promoters become billionaires. The loans that don't work are then socialized over this fat margin. This is something that we have decided not to do, and very prudently so. So where does equity capital come from? If the equity capital is left with the companies,